Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. Yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. Yasya prasadan bhagavat prasado. Yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. Dayang stuvangs tasya yashastri sandyang. Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. Dayan stuvangs tasya yashastri sandyang. Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. 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 Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksuran Militang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. A few weeks ago, we celebrated the appearance of Nrisingha Dev. That Leela of Nrisingha Dev is very, very significant, very important for all kinds of devotees. That pastime reveals to us many of the mysteries of Bhagavad Gita, especially when Krishna says, "My dear Arjuna, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranasyati." Arjuna, you declare it, because people may not believe me, but they'll believe you when you say that my devotee is never vanquished. And that Nrisingha Dev Leela demonstrates that. Now, that pastime of Nrisingha takes 10 chapters of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. It is a conversation between Yudhishthira and Narada Muni. The scene was the killing of Shishupal at the Rajasuya sacrifice of Yudhishthira. And everyone saw how, when Krishna decapitated Shishupal, his Atma, spirit soul, like a meteor, entered the body of Krishna. Everyone was astounded. Yudhishthira himself was amazed. And so he asked Narada, how should I understand? And so Narada explained how Jai Vijay, the two gatekeepers, the seventh gate of Vaikuntha, had decided to accept 3 births as demons in order to satisfy the will of the Lord. So their first so-called incarnation, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu, of course, was the father of Prahlada, and he hated his own son simply because his son was favorable to Hiranyakashipu's arch-enemy, Lord Vishnu, who had killed his younger brother, Hiranyaksha, in the form of Varaha. So after Hiranyakashipu was killed by the nails of Lord Nrisingha, simply by his nails, all the demigods headed by Brahma and Shiva, they offered prayers. Why? Because even after killing Hiranyakashipu, Nrisingha was still angry. He was roaring, and everybody was scared, trembling. But none of the prayers of the demigods, so many, they offered prayers. They could not pacify the Lord. And Nrisinghadev was still angry. And Brahma, Lord Brahma, the chief person in the universe, he asked Nrisinghodev's wife, Lakshmi, please calm your husband. And she said, oh, no. I've never seen him so angry. I'm not going near. So then Brahma pushed Prahlad. Go ahead, do something. Do something. Prahlad, 5-year-old boy, simply offered his dandavat, obeisances. Then the Lord stopped roaring. He became, instead of Ugra Nrisingha, horrible, terrible, angry Nrisingha, he became Shanta. Everybody knows, Indian people know. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. That's what the world needs right now. Peace. That's what we need. So the Lord was pleased to take his Tavakara Kamala, his lotus hand, placed it on Prahlad's head, and the 5-year-old boy stood up and offered a stream of over 40 prayers. It's all here in chapter 9 of the 7th canto. And these prayers are so deep, so much information. But of course, for me, some of them I can really identify. So the topic is, without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any spiritual advancement. That was Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, Yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. So Prahlad teaches us how to understand. That verse that we chanted is sung in every ISKCON temple every morning. First prayer. Vande Guru Sri Charanara Vindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanara Vindam. Here is, for me, a verse Prahlad speaks that really captures my heart. Evang janang nipatitang prabhabahi kupe kama bikamam anuya prapatan prasangat kritvatmasat surarshina bhagavan grihita sohang katang nu visrijetava britya sevam. Before I go any further, since I am speaking on Srimad-Bhagavatam, my spiritual master taught us we must first recite. Please respond. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Prabhupada's translation to this verse. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires, one after another, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. So this first line, first sentence, that was my situation. From the very moment of my birth, that was my modus operandi. Material desires, one after another. And where was I going? Nowhere fast. Because we learn from the Gita that this material world is so designed by Krishna that there is no possibility of being happy with any amount of material sense gratification. We think, oh, I used to drive Toyota Corolla. Now I drive Mercedes. But that doesn't make me happy. Oh no, Prabhu, you need Tesla. Then you'll be happy. Until you get an accident. This was Arjuna's argument also in the beginning of the Gita. One of the reasons why he didn't want to fight. He said, I don't see how there's any possibility of my enjoying if I win this battle and I rule the earth, and everyone I would want to enjoy it with would all be killed. I don't want to fight. It's a lose-lose situation. Of course, Krishna pointed out afterwards, no, it's just the opposite. It's a win-win opportunity. Why? Arjuna, if you fight and you lose, what's happening? You're going to heaven. Is that a bad thing? And if you win, you will rule the earth with your brothers. So Krishna said, no, it's a win-win situation. So the way this material world is designed, Krishna points out material sense gratification, kama, lust. There is no cessation. Actually, dushparena analenacha. In the 60s, I'm a child of the 60s. We used to sing a song, I can't get no satisfaction. Absolute truth coming from the mouth of the Rolling Stones. But it is. He didn't know it, but he was speaking the absolute truth. He's right. There is no satisfaction in the material world. I remember I was trying to, at that time, before finding Krishna and the devotees, my guru was the Beatles. And by the time I found Krishna and the devotees, my gurus admitted that they had achieved everything and they were not happy. And I'm thinking, I want to achieve what they have, and they've already achieved it, and they're not happy? But then, I don't know how. Yes, I know how. Because we are speaking it. Prabhupada came to America. Why? To deliver all the fallen conditioned souls. We need the grace of the spiritual master, the devotees. So yes, coming in contact with Prabhupada's books, that changed my whole trajectory. You know, they have this expression, in your life sometimes you're at the fork of the road, and the decision you make could affect years and years. So as at that point, should I continue my material dream of becoming the next Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix? Or should I give my life to Krishna and Prabhupada? I don't know why, but I decided, I've been trying this for 5-6 years. I'm frustrated. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm beating my head against the wall. Let me give this life to Prabhupada and Krishna. Thank you, Jesus. That was the best decision I ever made. And I would make it again 10,000 times. Yes. I just celebrated this week my 75th birthday. If I had not surrendered to Krishna and Prabhupada, I would have been dead 40 years ago in some gutter in Las Vegas. I know that. The way I was going, sex, drugs, rock and roll, not auspicious. But, so here, the second part of Prahlad's prayer. But your servant, Narada Muni, kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve the transcendental position. So I can easily say, but your servant, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, kindly accepted me as his disciple, April of 1974. Yes, and I was given the name, no more Nicholas D'Angelo. Bye-bye, Nicky. Nirantara Dasa. And fortunately, I can say fortunately, that my attachment and attraction to Prabhupada is on different levels. First and primary, his books. Because it was his books that convinced me. From the very first pamphlet. And what was that pamphlet? Transcendental Teachings of Prahlada. I love Prahlada. I love that. And I remember reading that pamphlet in 1972. And from the first page, I said, yes, this is what I have been looking for all my life. I had seen some pamphlets from gurus and swamis, and after a few sentences, I would go, oh, this is gobbledygook nonsense. That's stupid. Mayavad, impersonalism, garbage. But first paragraph of Prabhupada, I read that whole pamphlet, and everything that he said, I said, yes, that's right. And then on the back, there was a picture of Prabhupada like this, very grave. And I said, yes, that's my guru. It was immediate love at first sight. Then, of course, I've told the story 108,000 times, how simply 6 months later, 6 chapters of Krishna book was all it took. Close the book. I'm joining Prabhupada's movement. That's how powerful these books are. And to this day, I love reading Prabhupada's books. I spend hours every day reading Prabhupada's Vani, his words. Then another thing that connects me with Prabhupada, his singing. I love the way he sings. With so much soul, yes. He's the real soul singer. He sings from his heart. And he's not trying to sound fancy. No, he's just crying out to Krishna. That's it, crying out. So I have to every day hear Prabhupada's voice. I also spoke on this verse a few weeks ago in ISKCON Los Angeles Temple, but today's class is going to be better than that. because I saved the best for San Diego. Shh, don't tell anybody. So, I remember that a few Sundays ago, I revealed my latest realization. I'll share it with you. That what is my prayer? What am I going to pray at the time of death? And if I am to die tonight, today, my prayer is, Krishna, please, I beg you, put me someplace, somewhere where I can hear the sound of Prabhupada's voice. As long as I can hear Prabhupada's voice, we're good to go. If I hear Prabhupada's voice, by nature, I am a bull. I'm born Taurus, so I'm stubborn like a bull. But the bull calms down when he hears the sound of Prabhupada's voice. Same way you're hearing my tambura, virtual tambura. Same thing. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So your servant, Srila Prabhupada, kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve the transcendental position. And that's what Prabhupada's books are all about. Prabhupada's books is all about how you and I can go back to Godhead. That is his intention. And that is my mindset when I read his books. What is he teaching me, which is going to help me stay on this? We call it Apavarga Marg. Apavarga, the path of liberation. In Sanskrit, there is Pavarga. Dravida, do you have the microphone, Dravida? You should always have microphone. Wherever you go, 24/7. Yes.
Okay.
Explain to everyone Pavarga.
Okay. So in Sanskrit language, I'm not a Sanskritist, but I know a little bit. There are different categories of letters, of nouns especially. And there's one group of Varga called the Pa Vargas because it begins with the letter P. The next letter is PH, which is Pa, with aspirate. Then you have B, and you have BH, and then M. And each one of those stands for another element of the entanglement and suffering of the material world. So P is parishrama. Just to live in this world, you have to work so hard, 2-3 jobs, you still can't pay the rent, you know the deal. So that's parishrama. And you work so hard, painila, the foam comes from your mouth, just like you see a racehorse, you know, like that. That's painila. B stands for two things. Prabhupada would say something, vyartata, which means frustration, you try so hard, but still you fail. Or bondage. The word bandha in Sanskrit means bondage. It's just like in English. And then BH stands for bhaya. That's fear. Now I want everyone to look carefully at Srimati Radharani's right hand. You see that? Right on the altar there? She's like this, right? That's a mudra. It's called Abhay Dan Mudra. It's a mudra that for those who meditate on and accept the grace of Radharani in service, she gives you fearlessness. Abhay Dan. So this is a blessing, just seeing the deity. So now you know. So then the final one is M, stands for mrityu or death. So these things, the hard work, foaming at the mouth, bondage, frustration, fear, and death. This is characterizing of material life. And Apavarga means liberation of all these things.
Yes. So we, following the path of Gita and Bhagavatam, is the path of Apavarga Vartmani, the path of liberation. Now, the last thing Prahlad says in this shloka, therefore my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? That one is what really hits me hard. Prahlada is teaching us, don't think you're so such and such, you're this and that. No. Nirantara Dasa. Dasa means servant. And your first duty is to serve your spiritual master. That's why I sang that for the 8th shloka of Guru Bhashtakam, because it emphasizes, and Prabhupada explains throughout his books, that we have no way of knowing that we are pleasing Krishna. We don't know, but we can know, and we should know how to please the spiritual master. And this verse of Vishwanath Chakrabarti says, if you please, if you satisfy, if you obey your spiritual master, automatically Krishna is satisfied. Now, the next question, obviously, how do I serve Prabhupada? How do I obey Prabhupada? He's given us his books. And me personally, I've told the story also 1,008 times. When I asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? If you love Krishna. Wow. Oh my God. Best answer. The answer that that's it. I love that answer. Just have to learn how to love Krishna. And when you think about it, loving Krishna is not only easy, it's natural. Prahlada teaches that. When Prahlada was instructing his classmates, they asked him, what is this Krishna consciousness? So, Prahlada was saying that it's natural to love Krishna. It's unnatural not to love Krishna. Why? Because we are his children. We belong to India people, you know, Gotra, right? Your family is Gotra. So when you become a devotee, you become Achyuta Gotra, the infallible family. Achyuta means Krishna, never fallible, infallible. And when you surrender to Krishna through the spiritual master, you also become potentially infallible, provided you're a good boy and a good girl. Not that, oh yeah, I joined the club. I got my card. I'm in. Not so cheap. No, if you accept some cheap process, your return on investment will also be cheap. Like we say, though, in the athletics, no pain, no gain, Baba. Yes, you have to, what is that song? Got to pay your dues if you want to sing the blues. And then I change it. And you know it comes from Krishna. Yeah. My next hit record. My first duty is to serve him. And all Prabhupada wants me to do is love Krishna. And he also said in a class he gave in Los Angeles, probably, if I remember correctly, 1969. Prabhupada was observing the ceremony of his Guru Maharaj. I don't know if it was probably disappearance. And Prabhupada was saying, I'm an old man. I may pass away at any moment. And then he looked at his disciple, but I will live through you. All Prabhupada wanted us to do from the start, give this blessing, give this gift of Krishna consciousness to everyone. So that's called the setup. Do I have your attention? All right. So now we study the purport. The purport, that's where the hidden nectar is. This year, probably in January, I started to read Bhagavad Gita again for the umpteenth time. But this time I said, you know what? I'm just going to read the purports. Oh, it's a different Bhagavad Gita if you just read the purports. So now that's my big thing, the purports, the Bhaktivedanta purports, which our good friend Dravida works on. We're indebted to his service, presenting the purports nicely. So, as Prabhupada would sometimes say, sit properly and try to hear Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. Another thing we sing every morning in every temple of ISKCON worldwide. The disciple only wants to hear the words emanating from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master and doesn't want anything else. So I'm going to try to read it as if I was live television and my life depended on it. Let's see how I can do. As will be seen in later verses, even though Prahlad was directly offered all benedictions he might have desired, he refused to accept such offerings from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the contrary, he asked Lord Nrisingha to engage him in the servant of his servant, Narada Muni. This is the symptom of a pure devotee. One should serve the spiritual master first. It is not that one should bypass the spiritual master and desire to serve the Supreme Lord. This is not the principle of a Vaishnava. The great Acarya Narottam Das Thakur says, Tandera charana shebi bhakta shane bhash janame janame hoy ei abhilash. One should not be anxious to offer direct service to the Lord. Lord Chaitanya advised that one become a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Gopi Bartu Padakamalyor Dasa Dasanu Dasa. Actually, you'll find some, when this is quoted by Prabhupada, sometimes he'll say, yes, you'd become servant of the servant 100 times down. Yes. This is the process for approaching the Supreme Lord. The first service should be rendered to the spiritual master so that by his mercy, one can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to render service. Now this automatically reminds me. So the first service should be rendered to the spiritual master. So there's another very, very heavy purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada makes it clear. The first order of the spiritual master, chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. First, sometimes there's this discussion, the final order. Now, I'm still on the first one. First order, chant Hare Krishna. Everybody, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Good. Jai. And this side is strong today. Good. You regained your rightful position. Come on, you guys. Snap out of it. Good for you. While teaching Rupa Goswami, Lord Chaitanya said, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij. One can achieve the seed of devotional service by the mercy of the Guru, the spiritual master, and then by the mercy of Krishna. This is the secret of success. First, one should try to please the spiritual master, and then one should attempt to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When I joined this movement in 1973, when we were taught deity worship, I distinctly remember, first you offer to Prabhupada and you work your way up. That's how I was trained. I still do it like that. Prabhupada's purport continues. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says, Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado. One should not attempt to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by concoction. One must first be prepared to serve the spiritual master. And when one is qualified, he is automatically offered that platform of direct service to the Lord. This is significant. Actually, the way Prabhupada is presenting this science of Krishna consciousness, yes, science. He is teaching us nothing is lacking. Everything is there. Actually, if you take even one book of Prabhupada, everything is there in that book. Going over those Gita purports, what was Prabhupada hammering over and over and over again? Two things I found. Accept Guru and do devotional service. Purport after purport. He's saying so many things explaining the Gita. Therefore, one should accept a spiritual master and render devotional service. So it's clear. There's no confusion. Now, if one wants to quickly make advancement, just like if you have some moolah, some money, right? Sometimes you're thinking, I'll invest it in crypto. Yeah. And I'll make more moolah. Careful, careful. You know the stock market, right? Any day. What? It's all gone? No. Tricky. Because the world is full of cheaters and the cheated. Top to bottom, president, this guy, cheaters and the cheated. That's it. They're all a bunch of cheaters, except Prabhupada. That was one thing I understood after some years, around the time prior to Prabhupada departing. I realized all these devotees here in this temple, I was in New York at the time, and I was thinking, all these devotees here, we share a common understanding. We have finally found someone who won't cheat us. That was Prabhupada. Yes, there was so much going on. Even back then, there was stuff going on. You would hear things, but you knew. And don't freak out. Prabhupada will deal with it. He'll settle it. No need to worry. Then Prabhupada disappeared. Then we had some problems. Because we were, most of us, in our mid-20s. There were a few older. Now he gave us the keys to the car? Not so easy. Now, so many of us Prabhupada disciples, bye-bye. You know, I'm 75. How much longer? If I go to 80, oh man, I'll be good. People, some of my well-wishers, no, Prabhu, you'll live to be 108. Well, that would be nice. But well, how will I be? You got to add healthy 108. And the rate I'm going, it ain't looking good. Anyway, the time is coming. Fourth quarter, 2-minute drill. It's coming down the wire. Better settle all accounts with the Corleone family. Yes. Be ready. So, after us Prabhupada disciples are gone, you'll be in the driver's seat. Good luck. Then you'll know, we didn't know you don't know until you're behind the wheel. We all had expression, I go through it all the time. You're driving in your car, and there's some, backseat driver. I am like, you this, like my wife. Every 5 minutes, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. She doesn't like my driving. So the day is coming. You'll be in the driver's seat. I wish you well. Please, keep the only thing I request. I put a straw in my teeth. I flatter you 1,000 times. I fall at your feet. I beg you. Please keep Prabhupada as the center of this movement. As long as you do that, you'll be protected. Once you go, like in some narrations of Ramayana, there's this scene where Lakshman draws a circle and says, don't go outside the circle, right? So the same way, if you go outside of Prabhupada, you're on your own. Stay tightly to Prabhupada's lotus feet. That's I beg you, please, keep Prabhupada. Because I may have to take birth again in this movement. So I want to come back to ISKCON, not FISKCON. I want to come back to Prabhupada's movement, not somebody else's movement. What's this? No, Prabhupada's movement. Let's finish the purport. Therefore, Prahlada proposed that he engage in the service of Narada Muni. He never proposed that he engage directly in the service of the Lord. This is the right conclusion. Therefore, Prahlada said, Sohang katang nu visrijay tava britya sevam. How can I give up the service of my spiritual master who has favored me in such a way that I am now able to see you face to face? For us, we get to see the deity face to face. And here, your temple, you're so fortunate. How sweet Radha Giridhari look. They're such sweet deities. You're so fortunate. So sweet. So nice. Prahlada Maharaja prayed to the Lord that he might continue to engage in the service of his spiritual master, Narada Muni. Now, is my friend here? Let's see. I'm looking for someone. I guess he doesn't stay for the class, so I won't sing his song. If he had stayed for the class, then I would have sung, but I don't see him. Krishna, 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 hey, below. Good. This side is still weak. Wake up, Jeev Jago. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, Krishna. That's better. Krishna, Krishna, you just needed a little encouragement. Good. Krishna, 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 Rakshaman. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, pahi mam. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, pahi mam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, pahi mam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, pahi mam. So there have been a few times in my preaching career where I was very severely tested. Oh, sometime maybe 2005, 6, maybe later sometime. A very wealthy Indian lady, she had attended some of my lectures in another temple that I speak at. And she liked what I was saying. So she asked me, Prabhuji, can you get me the Srimad-Bhagavatam? I want the whole Srimad-Bhagavatam. I said, oh, no problem. So I got the set. Next time I saw her, I gave. But then, maybe a week later, I get a phone call from her. And she's criticizing and blaspheming the Bhagavatam. And what? And I won't repeat what she said because I don't want you to go through the same trauma that I did. But she was so heavy. And then she said, you shouldn't follow your Prabhupada. You should just follow Krishna. And that's when I said, oh, God. So I didn't freak out. I didn't show my Nrisingha form. I stayed like Prahlad, meek and humble. I said, Mataji, you don't understand. Without Prabhupada, what do I know about Krishna? Nothing. Nothing. You want me to give up my spiritual master? Why? Without him, I wouldn't understand anything. So I said, goodbye. Adios. Hung up the phone. Well, she wasn't done, but that's another story. She tried to cause a disturbance later at some program I did in someone's home. I wouldn't look at her. I wouldn't talk to her. And she kept wanting to have some debate. And I told the host, no, I'm not. She doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. What do we say? Persona non grata. Then there was another time. There was a time when some of my own godbrothers were trying to get me to follow somebody else. I said, and some of these godbrothers were very advanced. I said, no. I gave my heart, I gave my soul to Srila Prabhupada in 1973. I am not taking it back. I am sticking. I've given this life to Prabhupada and Krishna. Thank you very much. Talk to the hand. Because if you love, love means through thick and thin. They used to say in marriages, I don't know if they still do it, till death do us part. Do they still do that? I don't know. Times have changed. Till money does us part. I don't know. But that used to be there. Till death, in sickness and in health. Till death do us part. So same way. This life is Prabhupada. So I would like Dravida Das to take the microphone and add, edit, subtract, correct, as you see fit. I give you the floor.
Well, I don't want to add or subtract, but I want to enhance a little bit.
See how smart he is? See?
Choice of words is everything. So when you, I almost did this, and you probably would have appreciated it, but I knew the verse you were going to choose from Prahlada.
Well, great minds think alike.
But what you maybe don't know, or you forgot, back in '86, the '80s were quite a traumatic decade for ISKCON.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to go into details, but there was a point where many devotees were confused, or they were discouraged by what was going on in terms of the succession from Prabhupada, because that was the hard part. Who's going to be the gurus in the next? So I won't get into details. But I'm sitting there and I'm working on, every year for 35 years or so, I worked to put out the Vyasa Puja book. Srila Prabhupada's birthday is called Vyasa Puja, means they worship of the representative of Vyas, his appearance. So that comes once a year. And so Srila, right after Janmashtami, the day after, it's not an accident. The day after Janmashtami is Prabhupada's appearance day. So anyway, so I was writing the introduction to the Vyasa Puja book. And I thought that this was quite appropriate. So many devotees were doing exactly this. They were, because of the difficulties in ISKCON, they were withdrawing, and in withdrawing, they were also disconnecting from Prabhupada, unfortunately. And so I took that verse, that famous prayer of Prahlada, which also struck me as the central verse of his prayers. And I said, I'm going to edit it a little bit, And I used the translation, but instead I said, how could I ever give up the service of Srila Prabhupada, of the spiritual master? And so this was very kind of resonant with that and brought back so many memories. By the way, you may not know this, and I'm not going to try to add on any more meaning than is there, but I thought it very fascinating. We grew up in the same town in Long Island, practically at the same time. And we joined in the same year, Hempstead, Long Island.
Yeah, but you were ahead of me.
I was ahead of him
by several months.
A couple of months.
Therefore, you are my senior godbrother.
He's being very polite. He's actually doing much more active preaching than I do.
No.
But anyway, I just wanted it resonated, and that verse especially, as you put it, said this is exactly the mood that we have to feel towards Srila Prabhupada. That how could I ever give up the service of my spiritual master? That's actually in the Prabhupada's translation there. And Prahlada, he's had so many, as he pointed out, so many essential instructions. What are the 9 processes of devotional service that we follow? Beginning with hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna, and then serving and all these different things. That's Prahlada's verse, which he spoke fearlessly to his father. Talking about speaking truth to power. Here's this fragile little 5-year-old boy, Hiranyakashipu, he thought he could anyway, to squeeze him to death, and he was protected. He is the exemplar. He is the authority for remembering Krishna. Each one of those 9 processes that he defines in that verse has an exemplar or an acharya. That for instance, hearing is Purikat. He sat for 7 days and nights without eating or sleeping, and he heard the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And who was chanting? Shukadev Goswami. He's the acharya for chanting, and it goes on like that. And for remembering is Prahlada. Just by that intense remembrance of Krishna, he was completely protected. It's just incredible when you read the pastimes in the 7th canto there. His father was the biggest monstrous demon there could possibly be. He had taken over the whole universe. Narada Muni said, even I'm having to bow down to him. Everyone except Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva is like afraid of him. He was so powerful. But Prahlad, he wasn't afraid. He didn't show any fear. His father asked him, what did you learn today? They didn't have report cards, but he took him on he took him on his knee, and he smelled his head, which is a sign of affection, and said, please tell me the best thing you learned today. And he was expecting to hear, all the little Machiavellian stuff that, that needs for being a good demon. And Prahlad said, no, and he didn't call him father. He said, best of the demons. The best thing I learned today, best for whom, Prabhupada says in the lecture, for those who are embodied, that's all of us, is so much in that one line. Bhagavatam is so concise and full of meaning, every word. So he's saying, for the conditioned soul, the embodied soul, that's all of us, who are always disturbed. Why? Because we've taken shelter. We're eternal. That's the first lesson of Gita. We never die. I made up a little song. Every single body dies, nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. Nirantara is already figuring out, put some music to it, right?
Krishna rap.
So he said, what is the Dehina? So he said, always disturbed because things are going along all right, but then something happens, right? Somebody gets elected, I'm not going to name any names. But suddenly everything is topsy-turvy, right? That's what it is in the material world, on a personal level and on a wide level. So what's the remedy? He says. So he tells his father, give up this materialistic household life, which is like a big well that you've fallen into, and go to the forest. And the Acarya say he's talking about Vrindavan, and take shelter of Hari. Now that was just the last thing that Hiranyakashipu wanted to hear, because Hari was his archenemy, having killed his brother Hiranyaksha. So Vishnu, Hari, Krishna, he hated. So that's coming from my son? So he said, who taught him this? And he looked this way at Shanda and Amarka, the teachers. And they said, no, we didn't tell him. I don't know where he got it, because he was instructed in the womb. So it was very fascinating. So the whole pastime is very instructive. Not only his prayers, but his teachings to his classmates. He was seditious. He didn't just preach to Hiranyakashipu, he also undermined the whole demonic kingdom by teaching the children. So eventually, of course, he tries to kill him, he can't kill him, and he gets annihilated by Nrisingha. And Prahlad then has these, as you said, very conclusive prayers. They're full of all kinds of them. So we highly recommend it's in the 7th canto. If you want the 7th canto, you need to buy all the other cantos. You can get the whole Bhagavatam. And if you can't afford it, then get online, vedabase.io. You can read the books on there, But you should read the Adventures of Srila Prahlad in the 7th canto. That's my little addition. Hare Krishna.
Balaram, you have 4 minutes. Please add to the nectar. Microphones all around.
Well, I'd just like to thank you for your wonderful class, glorifying Srila Prabhupada. And yeah, you're just your general example. Like you've lived your whole life glorifying Krishna, glorifying Srila Prabhupada. And it's very inspiring. And I've been thinking about this lately too. Like you were saying, you don't want to take birth. I mean, if you were to take birth again, you don't want to come back and join some movement that's really not Srila Prabhupada's movement, like you said, ISKCON or something. I never heard that one, but
even Prabhupada used that word, ISKCON, FISKCON.
Oh, okay, there you go. Learn things every day. So yeah, as Nirantara Prabhu is stressing, therefore it's very important for those moving forward to try to understand, to the best of their ability, the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada by studying his books, reading, listening to his lectures, and so on, and also by taking advantage of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. In this room we have two, right? We have Dravida Prabhu here, and we have Nirantara Prabhu. So they've lived a long life in Krishna consciousness, and they know all about Srila Prabhupada. So we could take advantage of their association and try to ask them as many questions as possible. That'll be very good for us. So that's all I have to say.
And you wrote a book about Prabhupada, didn't you?
Yeah.
What is it called? So, very good.
It's called Day by Day with Srila Prabhupada, Reflections of a Grand Disciple.
Jai.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you very much. May Krishna bless you, protect you, and let's end by saying together, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare.
and in the words of a great Acharya, and that's all I got to say about that. Haribol.